Most retirees assume Medicaid is for people with nothing. It's not. It covers 2/3 of all nursing home care in America. But to qualify, you can't have more than $2,000 in countable assets. A retiree with $400,000 saved has to spend almost everything first. There's a legal mechanism to protect those savings. It has a 5-year window. Here's how it actually works. A nursing home in 2026 costs roughly $9,600 a month for a shared room. The average stay runs 2 to 2.5 years. That puts the total bill somewhere between $230,000 and $290,000. Medicare does not cover it. Most people assume it does. Medicare pays for up to 100 days of skilled rehabilitation after a hospital stay. After day 100, the bill is yours. That's when most families realize what they're actually dealing with. The only government program designed to cover long-term nursing home care is Medicaid, and Medicaid requires that you have almost nothing left before it steps in. If you have savings, you spend them first. That process has a name. It's called a spend down, and it works exactly the way it sounds. Most retirees discover this in the middle of a medical crisis, when there is no time to plan and when every dollar they move is already inside Medicaid's 5-year window. So let's look at what that actually means when it happens to a real family. Because the number that catches most people off guard isn't the nursing home bill. It's the asset limit they never knew existed. Here's what a spend down actually looks like. Gerald, 73, a retired electrician from Ohio, spent 40 years building a retirement with his wife. He kept every bank statement in a manila folder, year by year, in a file cabinet in the basement. Last spring, Gerald had a stroke and needed full-time nursing home care. His wife was allowed to keep up to $162,660 of their shared assets under Medicaid's spousal protection rule. The rest had to go. Gerald's family documented everything. Then the spend down began. Medical equipment, home modifications, prepaid funeral arrangements, attorney fees, each one a legal use of funds within Medicaid's rules. Within 18 months, the savings they built over 40 years were gone. Medicaid started paying. There's a part that comes after that most people never see coming. Even after Medicaid starts covering your care, the state can file a claim against your estate when you die. That program is called Medicaid Estate Recovery. Your home, your remaining accounts, whatever is left, the state collects before your heirs receive anything. Gerald's wife eventually moved in with their daughter. The house was sold to settle the recovery claim. This is the $2,000 trap, not the limit itself. The assumption that you'll figure it out when you need to. Because by the time you need to, the window to protect what you built is usually already closed. If this is new to you, go ahead and hit like. It helps more retirees find this before they need it. There is a legal structure designed specifically for this problem. It's called a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. The way it works is this. You transfer your home and a portion of your savings into an irrevocable trust. You name a trustee, usually an adult child, to manage it. You give up the right to access the principal, but you keep the right to live in your home and to receive any income the trust assets generate. Once those assets are inside the trust, they are no longer counted as yours. Medicaid does not include them in the eligibility calculation. There is one condition that cannot be negotiated. The transfer has to happen at least 60 months before you apply for Medicaid. That is the look-back period. Federal law. Every state enforces it. If you fund the trust and then apply within those 60 months, The transfer is treated as a gift. Medicaid calculates a penalty period based on the value transferred. During that period, they do not pay. Now consider Tom, 66, retired school administrator from Pennsylvania. He had a legal pad covered in notes from 2 meetings with his elder law attorney. In 2021, he transferred his home and $200,000 into a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. His son became the trustee. Tom kept the right to live in the house and to receive any rental income if he ever moved. If Tom applies for Medicaid today, those assets are protected. The 60-month clock cleared earlier this year. Medicaid cannot count them. His son inherits them without estate recovery touching a dollar. Tom did not start with more than Gerald. He started 60 months earlier. That is the entire difference between those 2 stories. So, what about the retiree who didn't set up a trust 5 years ago? What if you're closer to 70 and the window is already narrowing? There are still legal strategies. They don't recover everything, but they are real and they are used every day by Medicaid planning attorneys. The first is a Medicaid-compliant annuity. You take a countable asset, say $150,000 in a savings account, and convert it into an annuity that pays a fixed monthly amount. That annuity has to be irrevocable, non-transferable, and structured to pay within your expected lifespan according to government mortality tables. When done correctly, that $150,000 asset disappears from Medicaid's calculation. It becomes a monthly income stream instead, and income is evaluated under a different part of Medicaid's rules than assets. The second strategy is converting countable assets into exempt ones. Medicaid does not count your primary home, one vehicle, household goods, or a prepaid, irrevocable burial arrangement. Spending countable money on any of those items is legal and immediate. There is no look-back penalty on spending, only on transferring. Neither of these replaces a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust set up years in advance. But for a family already in a crisis moment, they can make a real difference. One thing that applies to every strategy covered here: the rules are state-specific. What works in Florida may generate a penalty period in Arizona. This is not a job for a general financial advisor. You need a Medicaid planning attorney who knows your exact state's rules. So what does this mean for you right now? If you are in your mid-60s and in reasonable health, the 60-month clock is on your side. A trust funded today clears the look-back period well before most retirees ever need nursing home care. If you are in your early 70s, the window may still be open, but it is shrinking. And once there is a diagnosis or an admission to a facility, your options narrow quickly. The families who come through this with their savings intact are not the ones who had more. They are the ones who understood that Medicaid is not a program for someone else. Roughly 2/3 of nursing home residents end up on it. The law gives every one of them the right to prepare legally before they get there. The question is whether they do it before the 60 months run out. Planning doesn't require having more than Gerald had. It requires starting before the window closes. Gerald assumed Medicaid was for someone else. Tom assumed he'd probably need it, so he moved 60 months early. The $2,000 limit didn't change between those 2 men. The 60-month clock didn't change. What changed was when each of them decided to pay attention. Medicaid isn't for people with nothing. It turns out it's for most people. The difference between those 2 men isn't the limit. It's whether you still have time on the clock when you figure that out. If the next question in your mind is how Social Security timing fits into this plan, that is exactly what the next video covers.